We are met to discuss a very, very important matter, the matter of water. It is one of the greatest gifts that our Lord has given to us. Sometimes the National Water Commission reminds us that water is life, and there is no truer word than that. Without water, there is no existence whatsoever. And so when we meet today to discuss the matter of water, especially as it relates to climate and climate change, notwithstanding that one of our important leaders feels that there is no such thing as climate change, you and I who live in the tropics recognize that if we do not take certain steps to ensure our own security and our own future, then we are going to be the ones who will suffer most. So this conference is a timely one, as it reminds us of the importance of climate change as it relates to our environment, as it relates to our tourism product, as it relates to just about all life. And we're hoping that at the end of this conference, all of us would be leaving here feeling better that we had come and we are able to impart some of the things that we would have gained from here. I invite the first counselor, the head of cooperation, the European Union, Mr. Ricard Badil-Devins, to bring us greetings at this time.
His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Bertel Moore, ODJP, Councillor Negril Division, Ms. Marvelyn Peter, Chief Executive Officer, Westmoreland Municipality Corporation, Mrs. Philippa Ricketts-Edmund, Director of Hazard Mitigation, Minister of Local Development and Community Development, Mr. Dwayne Vaz, Member of the Parliament, Westmoreland Central. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to be here this morning in White House and bring greetings on behalf of the European Union. Let me thank the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation for organizing this event and inviting us to participate. The topics to be discussed over this conference are of a special interest for the EU. With the Paris Agreement on climate change agreed in 2015, the international community set out a global action plan to put the world on track to avoid a dangerous climate change and limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. Water scarcity is one of the main problems which could affect our planet and generate social and economic instability. The EU is aware of the vulnerability of Jamaica and the other small island developing states to global warming, facing already changing weather patterns, rising sea levels, and other long-term impacts. The project for the local government adaptation to climate change, which aims to build capacity for local water resource management and sustainable development in the communities, is crucial. The EU always stands up for the most vulnerable and most needy. We have a clear vision for our future, and we are sure that a renewed capacity for climate resilient freshwater and integrated storm water management will improve the living standards in the rural areas and their communities. To reinforce our commitment to climate change attention, I would like to add that this year we launched here in Jamaica a program to address climate change challenges through improved forest management, and it's our second biggest cooperation program in the country with a budget of 2 billion Jamaican dollars. I hope that this seminar will foster dialogue and cooperation on water management and climate change and inspire further action to accelerate efforts to preserve our planet. Thank you.
Put your hands together for Pearnel Moore.
It is with esteemed privilege that I welcome you to this year's local government adaptation to climate change water conference. As I sat and contemplated on the contents of the speech today, I came to the realization that climate change has become quite evident over the years. It has affected many countries and has even reached our island Jamaica, in the words of past United States of America President Barack Obama, when he said, "Climate change is no longer some far-off problem. It is happening here. It is happening now." And I heard the master of ceremony said something which I must go over, because Barack Obama was saying climate change is here now. But the new president does not know anything whatsoever about climate change. And it makes you wonder if the Americans are going backward or forward, because this president don't know anything about climate change. Did you know that the global sea level rose about 8 inches in the last century? The rate in the last 2 decades has nearly doubled that of the last century and is accelerating slightly every year. Alarming, isn't it? Let's bring this data closer home. For decades, Jamaican experienced below normal rainfall. A severe drought from 2009-2010 led to the water shortages and agricultural losses. With intense rainfall, even along with standing flood waters, these waters will attract mosquitoes. This, along with higher temperatures, can stimulate growth and reproduction, increase mosquitoes-borne disease. The acid mosquitoes can transmit dengue, chikungunya, and Zika. Epidemic to the country. Dengue has been a national concern for decades, from the year 2000, 2011. And now in recent times, so with all these statistics and all the efforts in conducting researches, it is with great pride that I applaud the efforts of the project management unit of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation in seeing it fit to undergo such a project. This project will seek to build local capacity for enhancing water resources, governance in the context of changing climate. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is a real threat to our nation as it affects all aspects of our lives. It affects the water resources at with rising temperature, increased evaporation, decreasing participation or reducing replenishment and underground water source and underground recharge. In coastal areas, sea level rise, lead reduce fresh water, supply for drinking water and irrigation. It affects our agricultural sector, which contributes to 7.4% to GDP and employs 17% of our labor force. It affects our health sector, as we have seen the scores of Jamaicans who have fallen victims to the effect of dengue fever, some whom lost their lives. It affects our infrastructure. Beaches have experienced accelerated erosion in recent decades and are projected to disappear within the next 5 to 10 years due to shoreline erosion and retreat. You know, speaking of that, anyone who knows what Negril was like some years ago, if you go to Negril now, you can see the difference, what it has made on the shorelines. Because if you go up to where the border between Westmoreland and Hanover is, see that maybe within the next 40, 50 years, we will have the sea coming on the Norman Manley Boulevard. And this is something that they have to do, something they must do to ensure that the sea does not take in more of the land. Amidst these alarming effects, I feel a sense of hopefulness that we have come to the realization of the great threat that we face, and steps are being taken to be a part of the solution. I express great commendation to the European Union, who has seen it fit to provide us with a 300,000 pound or European dollars. Euros. 300,000 euros grant to implement an activities over 27 months geared towards achieving the goals set by can't share the page. To achieve the goals set by the Project Management Unit of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation. May we all do our part and work together as we tackle this global phenomenon. Thank you very much. Thanks to the European Union. God bless you all. Thank you.
The country, the mayor would have alluded to the fact that we are vulnerable to climate change, and water is also one sector that we need to pay special attention to in this regard. This conference, in addressing the matter of climate change on water quality or access to water, it is befitting as it is also aligned to the National Sustainable Development Agenda, and the mayor spoke about caring for present generation while ensuring that the needs of the future is also taken care of, and that is what we are doing and what we want to see what sustainable development really means, and that is what sustainable development is. Freshwater resources are vulnerable and have the potential to be strongly impacted by climate change. There are a number of wide-ranging consequences for human societies and ecosystems. Among a number of factors, some of these are water can either be too little, meaning that based on the rainfall pattern, which can have significant impact on our food security. It can also be too much water due to heavy or the high volume of rainfall, which can also lead to flooding. He also mentioned about the threat to water quality, water and sanitation, as well as household use of fresh water in the household. For us to combat the issue of climate change on the water sector, we need to ensure that the capacity is built and the necessary infrastructure are in place. And just to mention that I believe that efforts are being done to ensure that we have not only have water available, but to ensure that water is accessible. And I spoke of the recent water shops that would have been open in St. Elizabeth, and I believe that I think it was 2 that would have been open in St. Elizabeth as well as one in Clarendon. It is important that we know that funding is challenging as it relates to funding in terms of development, allocation, and monitoring of our water system. However, it's also important that we ensure that there are trained cadre of persons to ensure that water resources is sustainable. As such, the supply skills to local government cannot be overemphasized. Therefore, this project is a step in the right direction. And so I'll just conclude by saying that I believe that the minister would wish that the discourse today will not only be just information shared, but will also be information that will be acted upon. And so I wish you all the very best in this conference, and that we ensure that we all work together to maintain or to ensure that sustainability is achieved. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
And as the Custos was speaking, my colleague MP, we actually made a final call, and he actually said that he really wanted to be here, but certain circumstances came up this morning, and he will not be able to make it to the conference, but he sends his sincere apologies. And I must also start by saying in the opening remarks from the Custos, he mentioned that everybody should be happy because we have a lot of food and we have a lot of water here. But the important thing is that water is here because we're having a water conference, so we're thinking we could be out of water. And there is a saying that it has become cliche now that water is life. And everybody is used to hearing that, but yet we still have so many citizens across our country that don't have access to water. And I think that the problem in Jamaica is not water or the availability of water, it's the distribution of water. And when you have situations where we're developing our minor water systems, it goes a long way in ensuring that our residents can benefit from this precious commodity. So I really appreciate what the European Union has contributed. And this engagement by increasing capacity for the elected representatives, also increasing the capacity of the CDCs and the PDCs for persons to understand how important this situation is and also to understand how to develop their own water sources. Then we have to really give a big round of applause to the European Union for putting this funding together to assist the Westmoreland Parish Council. I know it's a program that will last for over 2 years. And I can tell you those persons and communities who have benefited so far with regards to the implementation of the tanks or the resurrection of what was already there, people are really appreciative of that fact because now people are now able to access water much better than they were able to do in the past. And whatever we can do from central government to join with local government and whatever international partners that are there to improve the distribution of water across Jamaica, our commitment is definitely there. And we really look forward to continuing to work with whatever persons who come on board. Because as we said, getting water to every single household via pipe is what the aim is. Because I'm not sure of the percentage now where we're at, but I'm sure we're not close to where we really want to be. Because investment now must be put in the development of the distribution channels for water. And when we talk of minor water systems, yes, we mentioned the tanks. But the minor water systems also would include the catchment areas that was mentioned earlier. We're talking about standpipes also the trucking of water. So whatever means necessary where we can develop to improve the distribution of water to our citizens, then I'm sure everybody in this room will be fully on board to participate in that. So we're looking forward to the rest of the conference because we're all here to learn, including myself, because whatever can be done to develop the systems that we currently have, we all want to be able to participate in that. We all want to be able to leave here and teach other members of our community the different things that can be done to improve our water systems in Westmoreland and by extension in Jamaica. So we look forward to the rest of the conference, and I'm happy that everybody came out, and as the Costa says, we have water galore for everybody today. So we look forward to the rest of it. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Here to give the project overview, going to keep it short and spicy, so everybody understands exactly what the project is about. The Westmoreland Municipal Corporation received grant funding from the European Union for a project based on enhancing local authorities' contribution to governance and the development process. The project is titled Local Government Adaptation to Climate Change. The project focal area is Eastern Westmoreland, which covers 5 divisions: Darlington, White House, Betheltown, Cornwall Mountain, and Leamington. The project objectives are to build the capacity of elected officials and civil servants through twinning with Tottori, Japan, and learning exchange with Durban, South Africa, to enhance local water governance and sustainable development in a changing climate, which will in turn improve water delivery services, and to strengthen residents' ability to participate in governance. The project has achieved improved water availability by rehabilitating 4 rainwater catchment tanks, namely Reeds Mountain in Leamington Division, Argyle Mountain in Betheltown, Mount Stewart in Cornwall Mountain, and New Works in Darlington Division. We also have 4 wayside tanks to rehab, which we'll be doing before the end of the year. We also improved water quality by installing mechanical chlorination systems, and we built the capacity of small-scale water operators and technicians through trainings. The LG Act Project Solutions is the corporation's first step towards increasing participation in developing, allocating, and monitoring of freshwater use. It will also help to advance local sustainable development, especially considering the importance of local water resources to the development of the parish of Westmoreland. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Your Worship, Mayor Bertel Moore, First Councillor, Ricard Badia Divins, and of course, Custos Hartley Perrin. I can remember him because I am busy in the Negril area, working with Custos Perrin and others on the tourism enhancement programs that we have there. So it's not vacation at all, or sport. It has been work. If you don't mind, I'm going to step away from the podium so that I can see my presentation as well. And I wish to thank the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, Mrs. Peter, and the entire team for inviting me down here for this presentation. Not sliding. No, it's not moving. It wasn't plugged in. Okay. Let's give it a chance to read. So I represent the Water Resources Authority, which is your authority. It is our responsibility to manage water resources. We do this through essentially 4 arms: our permits and licensing unit, our project, our planning and investigation unit, and our data management unit. We have to plan, we have to allocate, we have to conserve, and we have to protect our water resources. We all have to do this. And we are just, at the Water Resources, the leaders in that initiative. But this responsibility is a national responsibility. And we recognize that, and that's exactly why we are here today. In terms of water quantity management, a large part of this is operated through the way we do, how we operate our databases. To be able to quantify water, we have to collect data. So at the Water Resources Authority, we collect data. We collect data on surface water, rivers and streams, and we collect groundwater information. And what this means is that we have equipment all over the island that's monitoring rivers, and some of you may be familiar with them. You may see these structures, especially on bridges, and these structures are measuring water levels, especially when the water is at flood levels and so on. We take this data and we process this data and then we make it available. It's available to the municipal corporations, to developers, to planners, to foreigners, because people globally want to know what's happening, for instance, with water in the Caribbean. So it is freely available through our website. This is one of the few institutions that you pay zero for any data, and we are proud of that. We have to manage this water because at the end of the day, we need to make the resources as best available. For you to drill a well, you have to first apply for a permit to drill that well. You own the land, and you want to now find out if you have water, you drill a well. If you drill this well and you find water, great. If you find oil, even better. But nobody has been lucky at that yet. So if you find water, you're going to have to apply for a license to abstract this water. If you have a stream on your property, the property is yours, but the stream or the river is a national asset. So it belongs to Jamaica. So for you to use this, it means that you will have to apply to abstract water. Okay? You get a license to abstract water, and it lasts for 5 years if you're a good boy or girl. And if you're not so good, and we have to probably help you pull your socks up. The next time you renew, we might give you for 3 years or 1 year to see if you're going to operate properly. Then if you start towing the line, you will again get 5 years. So the licensing is a part of how we do that. And finally, there's this thing called the water abstraction charge or volume-based fee. And this is absolutely critical. What this is a fee that's charged on the quantity of water that you're licensed to abstract. Not what you abstract, you know, what you're licensed to abstract. So if you have a license and you abstract 0, you still pay it, and you'll wonder why. And this is because in the overall calculations of water, we have to make sure that that amount that you're licensed for will be available to you at any time that you require it. So if you haven't started a chicken farm yet with 3,000 house chicken, that doesn't mean you can't start it next year. Okay? It always has to be on reserve for you, and that is why it operates that way. We have a water sector policy which is just now in white paper, the revised water sector policy. And we heard MP Vaz say that, you know, one of the goals is to bring piped water to every house. And yes, that is something that we would like to have happen. But our reality right now is that this isn't going to happen anytime soon. Our reality is that right now there are persons who are traveling great distances to bring water to their houses for themselves. And they're doing this and requiring a lot of time and effort to dedicate to do that. And they are going far distances. Some people are walking 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers to get water. So this water sector policy now says, as per international standard, that we should strive for everybody in the first instance to be accessing water of at least 50 liters for each day and not having to travel more than 500 meters to get this water. Now that sounds like far, you know, and it is far. But when you're walking 2 miles or a mile to get water, and if you get a guarantee that you can get it within 500 meters, there's no doubt that that is a big ease. The other part of the water sector policy speaks to the matter of quality. We need to maintain quality, and we have determined that between the World Health Organization standards and the Ministry of Health standards, that these are minimum standards that must be attained. And we do that. Jamaica can be proud of the produced water. The water that is produced and delivered to consumers is of the highest quality here in Jamaica. That is why the cruise ships leave Florida and come to Ocho Rios practically empty, so that they can tank up on water here and then use this water for the rest of the cruise. Because the last thing you want on a cruise is an outbreak of any gastro issue. The very last thing, well, the second to last thing, the last thing you absolutely want on a cruise or on any ship is a fire. And the second thing, worst thing, is any stomach outbreak. So, as I say, we have these monitoring systems set up all over Jamaica on rivers and streams. They're largely in the east, as you can see, with rivers and streams, because that's based on the volcanics and based on our rock structure. That's where most of our rivers are. In the center of the island there, it's a lot more porous, and so water can percolate into the ground easier. And the different modalities for this to get through. And the rural water supply has been charged. And I'm speaking, they will speak, but they have been charged to develop a strategy, and they have been charged to present a to develop and present a strategy, and also build this strategy out so that they can meet the water sector policy's demands. Andre will speak more on that. You might even see this diagram too. And that's fine, because we all collaborate. I'm looking in this room and I'm seeing Renford from NIC. I'm seeing the mayor, who I've worked with on some committees with the Negril and so on, right? We are all one big family, and we have to recognize that we all have this responsibility. So in terms of environmentally stable technologies, we have to look at this. So I've been asked to speak a bit on rainwater harvesting and also on water quantities. This is what is available to us on a general scale. This is what is available to us usually on the minor water supply scale. And the municipal corporations are largely responsible for the minor water supplies. Now this is a saddle on the back of the municipal corporations, because usually for them these are the not so productive systems, and these are the not so lucrative systems. But guess what? These in Jamaica are the absolutely necessary systems. Yeah? Absolutely necessary. Ponds and reservoirs. We know what a dam is. We know what ponds are. All right? Now we can do dams on rivers. We can do dams under rivers. In some countries they do that. The dam is not even seen. But that's when you have larger rivers. We have probably only 2 or 3 rivers that these would work on. So it's something that is being developed as a concept. Well, being brought from concept, and we'll see how much of it we can promote. All right? What do we know about ponds and so on? Anybody remember the concept of microdams? You do? So the Ministry of Agriculture, NIC, and Renford has actually advised me on this. Right now, there are still 6 microdams existing from that major microdam project. 6 of them. One at Hope Gardens, and you can see where the rest of them are. Now, the problem with microdams, of course, and any dam, big or small, is the rate of sedimentation or siltation, which means that if it's going to be silted up fast, it's going to become useless quicker. Okay? So you have to be very selective on the type of gully or the type of diversion that you place these structures so that they can last. All right? But if 6 of them can still be around, I don't know, 30, 40 years later, then there can be some worth in that. All right? There's very little experience. There's nobody to talk to about it. So basically, if we go back into that, we'll be doing it from the ground up. So we spoke about siltation. Other issues are leakage. And of course, you can't distribute from them. They are structures that you go to, withdraw the water, and take it away. And because of that, they are largely more ideal for agricultural irrigation purposes on a small scale. This is a microdam existing. This one is at Hope Gardens. Now, most people don't ever see this. You go up there and you'll see the zoo and you'll see all the gardens and everything. But way up in the back, there's this beautiful microdam which has never been empty. And it serves a lot of the water purposes for Hope Gardens. Then there's artificial groundwater recharge, which means that we are actually injecting, forcefully introducing water in the ground to meet the aquifers. There are usually 3 types of water that's used for this. A river, surface that has surface water, surface runoff water, or wastewater. There's nothing else that we can afford to be using to recharge, to basically throw out on the ground for it to get back. Jamaica has built the largest artificial recharge program in the Caribbean is right here in Jamaica. It's designed to put 8 million gallons of water into the ground per day. On a good day, we're putting probably 4 or 5, because what we're using is diversion water from the National Irrigation Commission canals, and this is basically extra water that is not being used by the agricultural interests, whether the fisher folk with freshwater fish ponds and so on, or farmers themselves. So this is available. This is happening. The water is definitely going into the aquifer because it goes down through sinkholes and it goes down through abandoned wells. So there's the artificial recharge of water. That's just an aerial of the entire place. The facility is 69 acres, so it does take up a lot of land. Then you've heard of this rainwater harvesting, and all of us, well, I'm a country boy. I was born at Hamden in Trelawney, and for the first 6 years of my life, I bathed with, drank. My parents cooked with nothing but rainwater. Because even the river water at Hamden was already contaminated by Dundas, so nobody was touching it. So it was absolutely rainwater all the way through for the first 6 years of my life. Until I moved from Trelawney, until my mother moved from Trelawney. And of course, as a piece of baggage, I had to go anywhere she went at that age. We built these things out, and they work. There are communities where it is the only solution, the absolutely only solution. There's Gibraltar in St. Catherine, where there's no streams, there are no rivers, no springs. The only thing that they can do is harvest rainwater and manage the rainwater that they catch. Nothing else. And we've helped them. We, as members in the whole public sector government, we've helped communities for this to happen. Giving them tanks, done the guttering for them, and all of this. on a wider community level, we have these parish tanks. And most of them are under the purview of municipal corporations. Most of them. And the persons in the corporation can tell you that these are still absolutely essential. When last have we built one? Since they are so absolutely essential. Fortunately, we have been on a program of rehabilitating a lot of the existing ones, but I'm pretty sure that there are areas right now that we could invest some money in and make the lives of some small community better and more stable with community catchment, storage tank, and the attendant barbecue. Storage treated sewage. Now, this one is a big sore point in most countries, and especially in countries where the majority of the population is of African origin. And it is because as Africans, we are very fastidious about health and ourselves. It's normal for us to bathe twice a day once there's water, you know. Get up in the morning, your bed. You go into bed at night, your bed. And that is just absolutely normal for us. So when you start talking about using wastewater, which is what we're talking about, I put it as sewage because I want to bring it home that at the end of the day, you can take the absolute worst and make the best of it. I've been to Singapore and I've turned the tap on and I've drunk the water, and I can tell you, I also was taken to the source and it wasn't pretty. The source not pretty, but what is coming out of the tap in the end, finally, is something that we're all confident that we could drink. Now, I'm not promoting for us to treat it for drinking, but I am promoting that at the end of the day, for irrigation purposes, it can be used. And then we still have a little bit of a social pushback with that. But then we can select the crops that you wouldn't, yes, you wouldn't want to use it for callaloo because you know how people will be feeling, or carrots or cabbage. But what about if we started planting cotton? What's this other thing? Castor oil, the oil nut tree. All of these things still need irrigation. It would be worth our while to think about using treated wastewater for that, rather than using potable water, which we should be reserving for the needs of all of the citizens. Okay? Storage is important. And again, we can use this non-potable water for irrigation purposes generally. Kingston is one of the few cities. Kingston is one of the few capital cities across the world where there is the largest dependence for the source of water is on rivers. So basically we're transporting 3 or 4 rivers into Kingston, one way or another. The Yallas River, the Hope River, the Wag Water, all coming in through pipelines and coming in to feed Kingston. And at the same time, Kingston sits on an aquifer, but which is largely unused. This aquifer is high in nitrates. 200 years of absorption pit toilets didn't help the situation. 200 years. So it's not going to turn it around anytime soon with whatever measure we implement. But it's not that it's impossible. The first step is the sewering of the city, and that's happening right now. I'm sure the Water Commission will speak something, maybe will be speaking something about these issues. But as it stands, the water that is now being pumped out of the aquifer in Kingston is quite suitable for irrigation purposes, and that's exactly what it does. So there's a well at Sabina Park, a well at St. Joseph's Hospital, a well at St. George's College, well at King's House, well at Devon House. So when Devon House is green in the summer, in the drought and everything with all the lock-offs, it's because they're using the irrigation water, which is coming up with nitrates, and the nitrate is a fertilizer, so it's good for the irrigation anyway. So it's a win-win, yeah? It's a win-win. But the fact is, we are sitting in that city, And we have to single it out because it is our largest population center. It is. I come from country and I don't like when people talk like Kingston is Jamaica. It kind of burns me sometimes. But sometimes we have to face the fact. It's our largest demand center. It's our largest population center. So it deserves the greatest of our attentions. Them just lucky. So I won't knock it too hard. But we can ease the situation with measures. So what we have to do, remember now, the whole concept about why we're all here is, it's about water, but we have to also think about how we are going to respond to climate change. Our mayor told us about, the situation with the beaches and what's happening and what is likely, what could very well happen without intervention in the next 40 or 50 years. It's not these kids' problem. It's not the youngsters' problem who are going to live it and feel it in 40 or 50 years' time. It's our problem. Climate change isn't coming. You and me are gone. Climate change isn't coming. Climate change is very much here. Very, very much here. All right? Climate change, they say, the three things is hotter, wetter, drier. So your hot times are going to be hotter. Your dry times are going to be drier. And when it rains, when it does rain, it will be more. We're seeing, in 2017, I don't know who can recall Montego Bay 2017 with that flood water from South Gully that ran down through Montego Bay. You guys from the West here would even be more familiar with it because you'd have probably ended up in Montego Bay shortly afterwards for some reason, either business or something. When you see cars in a gas station on a main road piled on top of each other, within a space, a rain that lasted 2 hours and 3/4, 2 hours and 45 minutes. And within 45 minutes of that rain, the city was being flooded out. 45 minutes of that rain. And they had to withstand it for another hour and change. I'll tell you, there was panic and pandemonium. I got caught in that. I got caught in that traffic jam out by Freeport side. Where they have the cinema and all that pretty area there. I got caught in that. As a matter of fact, it was football season. And right there in the traffic jam, all the cars opened up their doors and turned up their radios. And we listened to 2 football matches. 2 schoolboy football matches right there in the street. And the people made a good time of it. And everybody cheering and jeering each other. I'm talking about nearly 150 persons right there on the street. Everybody standing out of their cars and just listening to it. And nothing could move through Montego Bay. Port Maria has issues, Port Maria is situated between 2 rivers, the Padre River and the Outram River. They have a big problem when one of them come down. And they have a humongous problem when both rivers come down at the same time. Because what it means is that the whole of Port Maria becomes one big river. So when it comes to the squatter areas or the unprogrammed areas, let's call it that, in the unprogrammed areas, all right, what you find a lot is that you have to be trucking water, all right? You find that we have to start organizing for soakaways, and I don't mean soakaways for wastewater, I mean soakaways for water. We need to, as best as possible, contain our water. We need to recognize that as we move forward in life, in our response to climate change, that wastewater, the last 5 letters in it is very important. Take the waste part off, you're left with water. Stormwater, essentially the same thing. People are saying, how come the rain has been falling and the reservoirs, Hermitage Dam is now 98% and Mona Reservoir is 85%, still not full. Why? Because a lot of that was stormwater runoff which was not captured. So in stormwater, it is very important as well as a resource. So we have to think about that. In other areas, as you move forward in the urban villages and so on, again, it may be trucking, but generally, we try to at least move to the level of piped water, and we need to, again, recognize the grey water treatment for irrigation and for soil aquifer treatment. And then one of the things that we've decided, and I feel very proud about the water shop concept. In a previous dispensation, when I had another job, before Andre came there, I was at Rural Water Supply Limited. Simon Peter was there. And I was doing some research, and I saw this thing about a water shop in South Africa. Two things, and also the meters, the standpipes. Peter, you were there too. The Bamba Manzi meters. And I saw those two things. Well, we realized that because of our responsibility as social contractors, that we could not easily charge at a standpipe. But we realized that we needed to provide something where people, if they wanted to pay for water, would be offered that opportunity. And I went to my boss and I said, let's check out this water shop thing. And we promoted it to the municipal corporations. And I feel good to know that the Ministry of Local Government, as of now, have taken on to it and are promoting and building water shops. It's a very simple concept. Thank you, Yuna. It's a very simple concept, but a very effective and efficient concept as long as one thing works. As long as one thing works, which is this guy. As long as you can keep that shop supplied, people will buy the water. There's no doubt about that. If you can keep that shop supplied, the people will buy the water. And just to close off, sorry, I'm going backwards. And just to close off, as municipal corporations, we're familiar with this. This is Islington, Portland. We're familiar with this, all right? And this is not a shop. But this has to be filled by a truck. And then the community comes right there. And they get the water that they need. The truck comes daily or every 2 days. And it works for them. Fortunately for Islington, it has now been identified that there's some water underground. A well is being drilled as we speak. So they are moving into that pipe water into the house, pipe in the house, pipe in the yard that MP Vaz was talking about. All right? For the cities, I'll say nothing more. NWC will speak on the larger